Hello, in this PixaFlux video I'll show you how to create this Oriented Strand Board Texture. Oriented Strand Board is a type of engineered wood that is formed by adding adhesives and then compressing layers of wood strands in specific orientations. For this project we'll use the Fibers Noise node and a Warp node to create the wood texture. With the Bezier Curves node we'll create two sets of wood strands, and with a Warp node we'll add irregularity to their borders. And finally, we'll use the Sprite It node with the Collage Script to distribute the strands and colorize them. In PixaFlux, add a Fibers Noise node. Set size to 1024 by 1024. Core size to 1000 by 1000, and low and high fibers to 10 and 20. Add a Perlin Noise node to warp the wood fibers. Set the size to 1024 by 1024. Set octaves to 4 and check auto level. Add a warp node and connect Fibers Flat to Image and Perlin Noise to High. Set amount to 20 and samples to 3. This is the wood texture we'll use for the strands. Use a toRGBA node to convert this value image to RGBA. And with Levels node, we'll adjust the images that we'll use for albedo, roughness and height. For albedo, set the output levels to 0.8 to 1. For roughness to 0.8 to 0.9, and for height to 0.3 to 1. Now let's create an array of 4x8 Bezier curves that we'll use for the shape of the white strands. We can use a checkered texture as a guide. Set the size to 1024 by 1024. The horizontal cell sizes to 256 and 256. And the vertical sizes to 128 and 128. Set the colors to white and light gray. Add a Bezier Curves node and draw a 4-sided polygon. Use the Insert tool to add more Bezier nodes. In Edit mode, set the node type to corner, and add more irregularity to the shape. And then add all the other strands. To save time, I'll merge a project with the white strands. And I'll delete the first Bezier Curves node. Now let's fill the strands with a curve color node. Set fill and stroke to white. The size of this image is set by the Bezier Curves. So we need a constant 1024 by 1024 black image for the background. Mix the two images with a blend node. We'll use a Perlin Noise node and a Warp node to deform the borders of the strands. Duplicate the Perlin Noise node and set frequency to 8. Octaves to 6 and modify the seed. Add and connect a Warp node and set amount to 4. Add a Blur node with a size of 4 to soften the borders. And add a Convolution node with an Edge Solve filter of size 5 to extract all edges. Invert it. And blur it with a size of 3. To add borders to the strands, we'll use blend nodes. Set mode to multiply and opacity to 0.13. Duplicate and connect to roughness and height. For height, set the blend opacity to 1 to differentiate more clearly the strands in the normal image. To add the opacity, we'll use mask nodes. Connect the blur output as the mask input. Add mask to the roughness image. Add mask to the height image. Now that we have the white strands, let's create the narrow ones. Duplicate the graph by dragging it while holding down the Shift key. For the narrow strand shapes, let's set the guide to 512 by 512 with a 256 by 64 cell size. Delete the Bezier Curves node and add a new one. Draw the narrow strands. Here I'll merge a narrow strands Bezier Curves node to save time. Connect the narrow strands to the Curves color node. Now let's set the sizes of the narrow strands graph. Set the fibers node to 512 by 512 and the core size to 500 by 500 and modify the seed. Set the purling noise size and set frequency to 2. Modify the seed. Set the constant size. And on this purling noise, set the size and frequency to 4. Modify the seed. Now that we have all the wood strands, let's add the Sprite It nodes with the Collage Script. We'll use the Collage 2 DLL, which has 2 input images. Double-click it to reload the attributes. Set the size to 2048 by 2048. The Collage script takes an input image with multiple sources organized in a linear array, and places them in the output image using Poisson disk sampling. Connect the white and narrow strands albedo images. Set the background color. And opacity. We have 2 input images, the white strands and the narrow strands. The white strands in a square image with 4 by 8 elements. The horizontal size of the white strands is 2 times larger than the vertical size. This is an aspect ratio of 2. And the narrow strands in a square image with 2 by 8 elements. Their horizontal size is 4 times larger than their vertical size. This is an aspect ratio of 4. In the Sprite It node, set input 1 to 4 by 8. Set aspect ratio 1 to 2. Set input 2 to 2 by 8. Set aspect ratio 2 to 4. To control the ratio of narrow and wide strands, we can use the balance attribute. The default 0.5 value adds the same number of sprites from image 1 and 2. Low values add more strands from image 2. And high values add more from image 1. Set balance to 0.35. Set the Poisson disk sampling radius attribute to 6. This adds more strands to the image. Here we can see the wide and narrow strands coming randomly from the 2 input images. Set the rotation to -40 to 40 degrees. This rotates randomly the sprites between these 2 values. And set the scale to 6. Now that we can see the strands with their texture, we can tint them with wood colors. I extracted these wood colors from different wood textures, and converted them to hexadecimal strings using the Change Color window. Then I copied these hexadecimal words to a text editor. I have here these 20 tint colors. Let's copy paste them to the tint attribute. To add more randomness to the texture, we can add variation to the hue, saturation, and lightness of each strand. And this is pretty much the albedo texture. Changing any seed will change the whole image. For roughness, we can duplicate the albedo Sprite It node and reconnect the inputs. Set the background color to 0.8 gray. And remove the tint and the hue and saturation variation. For height, duplicate the roughness Sprite It node. Reconnect the inputs. Set the background color to 0.5 gray. To keep the three textures in sync, I'll add an attributes node with the seed. Click Add Attributes. Set name to seed. Type to number. Maximum to 100,000. Click OK. And now expose as input the seed attribute in the Sprite It nodes. And connect the seed from the attributes node to the Sprite It nodes. The roughness image needs to be converted to monochromatic. Add a to-value node. And convert the height image with a to-normal node. Set source to height. And filter to 3x3. To export the USB textures, we can use writer nodes. The writer node saves the images to disk. And we can also use the command export images to save them all. The attributes and writer nodes allow us to access this project as a node in another project. For this, we need to rename the writer nodes. And save the project. In a new project, add a node graph node. And load the USB PXF project. And changing the seed modifies all images. In the PixaFlux website, you'll find the Oriented Strand Board sample project. In this project, I exposed other attributes like size, tint, rotation. This is an OSB board rendered on top of a photo I shot. We can see how the Sprite It node adds a lot of detail to this texture by using many strands of different sizes and shapes, and tinting them with soft and hardwood colors. Thank you for watching this video tutorial. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us in Twitter and Instagram.